Hi, welcome to Highly Effective Physical Education with Lynn and Lynn. My name is Lynn Heffley. I'm a kindergarten to fourth grade teacher at the Southdown Primary School in Huntington, New York. I'm also the vice president for the Suffolk Zone as part of the New York State APERT, and I am the president and founder of Literature Enhanced Physical Education. And here's Lynn.
Hi, I'm Lynn Burrows. I teach in Fraser, Colorado at a little elementary school. I teach kindergarten through fifth grade. Lynn and I met through Twitter. We're Twitter friends and decided this hangout would be a great idea to start publishing. So here we go.
Okay. Here in the second episode, we finally started school, and it's great to talk about the kids and the program that we've just started. I had a super first week. I've only been teaching 3 days. I know you've been teaching a week and a half, but those 3 days were super. And it's all because of things that I learned over the summer through Twitter and through the National PE Institute. Okay, so first I wanted to talk about our classroom management. Last year and the year before in the new school that I'm at, we always started the kids off walking in and sitting on a circle. And I had a lot of problems with that as far as getting, started and the kids touching one another. And the other thing that happened was, right?
Yeah.
Get started. So anyway, what also happened was because of the APPR and tracking time with students, we have to take attendance every 20 minutes. Now, I take attendance in the beginning, and then I give a rubric grade at the end. So this year, what we decided to do was we gave them each a spot in the gym floor in their personal space, and they're color-coded, rainbow color-coded. So we have a red team, an orange team, yellow, whatever. And so they walk into the gymnasium, and they go to their spot. On their way in, they have to look at the instant activity. And this is something I've been wanting to do for a long time. And I happened to be on Twitter, and I found this page. It's the Zedagogy page.
Right.
To share the article that I had. Here is, can you see that?
No, you have not shared your screen.
Okay. Oh, I got it. There we go. Now that's not it easy. Hold on. I'll find it.
Is it the one where everybody contributes their instant activities?
Yes.
It's fantastic.
I don't know why it's not coming up. All right. We'll talk about it, and I'll give you the names. So, okay. The instant activity, I got it from Jonathan Jones. He put up a blog about instant activities. And so what I did was I made a bulletin board, and let's see if I can get this one. How come it's this one? Let's see if we can get this one. Here we go. Okay, so this, you see it?
Yep.
So this is an instant activity bulletin board, and the students will come in, and we started off really easy for the first week, is jog on your spot with the pictures, and so that the K1s can probably figure it out, and then the 2, 3s, and 4s can read it. Okay, so that worked amazingly. I was so excited about that. So then they went to their spots, and we were able to take attendance while kids were moving.
Right.
Really. So then the next thing we did was I picked up from Jim DeLine at the National PE Institute. Now, Jim was absolutely amazing, but one of the things that I loved about him was to get kids' attention, he would go, "Hey, team," and they would respond with, "Hey, coach." And it just made me so happy. It made me smile, and it made the kids smile. Instead of blowing a whistle, or I used to do "give me 5," and the beauty of it is that kids respond verbally, all of them. So if they didn't hear you, you know, a couple kids didn't hear you, the whole class is now giving a response so that the students know that it's time to listen. I thought it
I
was
like,
great.
yeah, I like that idea. I like the idea that if they miss you, they hear their class.
It was amazing. And he had different words for what he was doing, and so we had different words for all the things. So we used to hey team, hey coach. But then let's say I wanted them to sit down. I would say crisscross, and they'd say applesauce, and they'd sit down and fold their fingers. If I wanted them to come to me, I don't know about you, but when kindergartners come to you, you finally figured out how to get them in a line, and now you want them to sit in a bunch. So you call them over, and they get in a line. So I know it would drive me crazy. So I yell out. I don't yell out. I say, "Boy, I'm hungry," and they repeat back to me, "Would you like some grapes?" And I'd say, "Sure," and they come over and sit as though they are a bunch of grapes.
It's cute.
And I just laughed the entire class. Then I'll say X marks, and they'll say, "Go to your spot." So with each thing I want to do for a transition, they give a big response, and then they act it out. It made me happy all week. My co-teacher does a lot of shushing, and we didn't shush at all because we would just say, "Hey team," and they'd go, "Hey coach," and they'd stop talking. It was amazing. I was so happy. What kind of classroom management things do you use?
It sounds pretty different. I've seen those little catchphrases. I think they're super cute. Somehow they just don't fit my personality. I don't seem to be able to make them work. But I teach on a microphone, and so I don't do a lot of those transitions. I think it just keeps me from having to do it. So while kids are moving, they can if I pause the music, they know anytime that music pauses, they stop and look at me, and I can give them like probably 2 seconds, probably too short. I can give them like a 5-second direction, like turn to the person next to you and talk about what a good teammate looks like. And I do very little of that kind of that grouping of in and out and in and out. And I think I attribute, well, one definitely is my teaching style, but the other thing is I think a lot of that comes from teaching on that microphone is, you know, I teach in a gigantic gym, and I think if I didn't teach on the microphone, I would definitely need to bring them in so that they could hear me at all. But because I'm on the microphone, they can hear me everywhere.
We actually both use a microphone too, but it sounds like we're in a different situation. We have a very small gym with a lot of students in it.
Yeah.
So we can have up to 60 kids in our gym. So if we don't have like real silence, then there's a lot of distraction and a lot of echoing. But the microphones, for people that don't use microphones, it makes such a huge difference.
Yeah, let's talk about that real quick. Let's talk about the microphone because I'm amazed when I hear from people who don't, and you know, just physically not putting the strain on your vocal cords. I know our music teacher is a huge advocate of like preserving your vocal cords, but when you teach on that microphone, I just feel like that the transition times are so easy, and it's not like well, at least when I was a kid, or like when my kids were really little and we had those phones with cords, and always you know, I'd be on the phone and my kids would misbehave right outside the reach of that cord. Sometimes I feel like, you know, when you don't teach on a microphone, then the kids are, you know, like when they're across the gym, they might be prone to, you know, getting into some mischief. But when you teach on that microphone and you can just redirect behavior from anywhere without raising your voice, you know, it's like God is always watching. It gives that feeling. Yeah, so I would just I think that if someone said what is one of the most important pieces of equipment, I would say that microphone.
And here, for the people that financially, this is what I did for it. I wrote a grant to our SEPTA, the Special Education Physical PTA. And in the grant writing, I wrote about the children that have a hard time attending when there's other stuff going around them. And you talk about the other child that's in the other corner of the room. Well, if a child has an IEP that says they're supposed to be placed in front of the teacher, well, we can't always have our kids in front of us because they're not sitting at desks. So if you can't have your voice where that child is, you're really not meeting an IEP. You have to be able to get their attention over the distractions that are around them. So it really is crucial for a lot of children that we have it.
Yeah, and I think the greatest thing for me is that I can keep my kids moving. You know, when we get into like teaching skills and I'm giving them cues, and I can just keep repeating those cues as they're moving in the activity. Yeah, without having to shout, without having to like raise my voice at all. And I don't always teach on it. Sometimes when I bring them into a small group, I'll turn it off just so, you know, kind of that quiet voice. Then they really want to listen, type thing. But so I don't always teach with it. But when we're spread across the gym, I do. You're muted. You're muted.
Okay, sorry about that.
Mm-hmm.
I do the same thing, and you can even talk over the music, because I use the music just like you do. It's almost like Pavlov's dog. The music goes off, and they stop, and they look. So it's a brilliant thing, but you don't always want to turn the music off. You just want to say something over the music, and it works perfectly.
Right. We spent a lot of time the first couple days doing, you know, that stop-start to music, stop-start, 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 with all sorts of different activities, just getting that cue down. Even all the way up to 5th grade, we just spent a few minutes on it kind of as a reminder.
I think it sounds like maybe our first days are the same. We haven't done the music yet, but we started with a drum beat, and, you know, one hit of the drum, one step, a gallop sound, a skipping sound, a jogging sound, and a slide whistle. And you know, the slide whistle makes you stand up and makes you sit down, and then using my transitioning cues. You know, it's all about the first days about classroom management and how this classroom is going to work.
Right, right. With my older students, we started right in playing some games and talked about, we just kind of went over protocol. So we played a Everybody Is It tag, I think such a fantastic activity for getting kids looking when they're moving. And they froze with their hand up, and then to get unfrozen, anybody could come along, shake their hand, introduce themselves. Because I don't know about you, once our kids are mixed up, remixed in the beginning of the year, it's amazing that they just don't know each other's names. But they introduced themselves, and then they said kind of in unison, "I'm so glad you're in my class." You know, so we started with that, and then we went through kind of all the protocols. So this time when you're frozen, tell your partner what you do when you'd like to get a drink. This time tell the person. So I kind of peppered it with that. We played just some easy games. We played that math tag. Same thing, I'd pause them and say, now tell your partner what to do if there's a fire alarm. Tell your partner what to do on a lockdown. So we kind of went through that protocol. And then at the end of class, I had them come up on a piece of butcher paper and just write, I handed them a marker as they raised their hand. What do we do in this situation? Or what's the rules for this? And we talked about why protocol makes, kind of agreeing on protocol makes our class move really fast, so that I don't have to say, oh, remember, you only get a drink when the music is playing, because we have a drinking fountain in the gym, and I'm totally fine with them getting a drink anytime they want, but it has to be when the music's playing, and essentially what that means is I'm not in instruction. So, yeah, we went through that and got them moving, and it was a great first week. It was a relief to teach. It was just like after the summer, I just felt I felt relieved to finally get to do it.
It's so funny. My second day was exactly like that. We did an activity called People to People. It's from a New Games book. And essentially, when I say people to people, they have to go find a partner. So, and because we have 2 classes in the gym, I might say, Miss Smith's class, find somebody from Miss Jones' class. And then they'd have to find, or boy has to find a girl, or boy from this class has to find a girl from that class. And they would meet up, and then I'd give directions. And I'd say, name to name, address to address, thumbs to thumbs. So then they have to start touching each other, elbows to elbows. And with the older students, and even the younger students, I took them through what it takes to be socially acceptable when you're meeting somebody. Because they don't look each other in the eye. If it's somebody that they didn't want to be with, they don't even face their body to them. They'll be like this.
Right.
So we went through toes to toes facing. Then we had to look them in the eye. Then you had to shake hands, ask them a question and respond to one another. And then it was so cool, and it was just spur of the moment. I said, well, now you've just learned how to meet an adult. But when you meet kids, you really kind of don't just shake hands. So in the next next couple of minutes, you can do a 3-part handshake. You know how kids will,
Right.
fist pound or explode or chest bump. So in their little groups, they made up a 3-point handshake, and I would, then they got to show everybody. It was adorable. They had so much fun.
That's a great idea.
The other thing I used for it was I won a purple pig from U.S. Games at the National PE Institute, and I use it I called our talking pig. So when you want to turn or you want to talk, I'll toss you the pig, and you can only talk when you have the pig in your hand. And they want to raise their hand more and answer questions more because they want to catch the pig. So that was fun too.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time that first, I want to say, well, definitely through last week, and then we'll hit it on again this week, with my 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders on how to make groups and how to make partners. And I think it's from that people to people, where if they're in a group, if they need to make a group of 4 and they only have 3, they hold up one finger. And if they is that the same thing? That I think I've seen that people to people lesson. But anyway, it amazes me that those children who haven't learned the social skills, that when they hear me say, I'd like you to find a partner, well, most of my students, when I say I'd like you to find, they anticipate what I'm going to say, and they're already looking across the room, making eye contact with somebody, or they're they're saying, Jimmy, 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 And we have a rule in our gym that the reason we practice this is we have a rule in our gym that the first person who asks you, will you be my partner, or makes that contact, Jimmy, Jimmy, you have to say yes, thank you. And then, unless you already have a partner or you've already been partners. So we spend a lot of time practicing that. And I was thinking, the students that have a hard time with it, I'm not sure if it's a processing skill or if it's they can't anticipate that's coming, or they're self-conscious that maybe somebody's not going to want to be with them, and so it's avoidance. But one of our evidence outcomes is that the kids can do that. They can make groups. I think it's a 4th grade evidence outcome in Colorado, and they can ask other kids to be partners. So for those students, I always start the year, seems like to about halfway through, I'll say, I'd like you to find a partner, and Bill, you get to pick first. And so he has, this child who normally just kind of stands there and tries to avoid the situation, he gets first pick, and because of our rule, they have to say, yes, thank you, I'd like to be your partner. So sounds kind of similar. You're muted. There you go.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Kind of similar in that we have the rule, if somebody asks you nicely, then you have to say yes. If they grab you, then you can say, No, because you see the kids that run up and they just grab somebody, like somebody grabbed you, you need to say, not right now. You have to ask nicely. But we have the same rule. And I have them, if they can't find somebody, they come to the center of the gym, and then I try to assist them in asking and moving along. But yeah, that same kind of thing. Excellent. What was nice, moving on a little bit, is the standards. In the first lesson, didn't go over the standards, but kind of did, because I made this bulletin board. Here, let me show you. Hang on. That's the wrong bulletin board. Okay. So this bulletin board is in our hallway outside the gym.
It's cute.
Yeah, so I took the 5 NASB standards and I made them into child language. And so you can see, learn how to move, understand the importance of movement, understands how I can demonstrate appropriate social behavior down there. So I have the 5 standards, and you can see I use the word goals. And I put goals up here, phys ed goals. So when the students came in, we did a walk and talk with the older kids about what the goals, their goals were, and what goals are. And I kind of got that from Andy Vasily on Twitter. And so I had my 3rd and 4th graders. I say, what are physical education goals? And they walked and talked with one another, and I brought them back in. And they started, and I wrote on the dry erase board, and they'd say soccer goal and basketball goal and field goal, and they came up with all the sports terms for a goal. But one student came up with something you're trying to achieve, so then that transitioned into what the phys ed goals were, and then I had them talk about what phys ed goals they were going to have for the class, and they couldn't use the word play. You had to walk and talk and say, I would like to learn. And you couldn't use the big picture. You couldn't say, I want to learn I want to learn lacrosse. You had to say, I want to learn how to throw a lacrosse ball. Try to get.
I really like that. I'm gonna make a note to do that when we get to goals. I really like that lesson idea.
Yeah, and because one of the things I want to do is get them to understand that they're there to learn, and there's goals in physical education. And I put up a big sign that said, what did you learn in phys ed today? Maybe sometime I'll put that up on my website so people can download and print it. It's really big. It's like 6 foot long, 2 feet high, and right over the exit door. So when they line up to leave, I'm reminded to ask them, what did you learn in PE today? So that was a second part of my first lesson with the older kids. With the younger kids, we did a lot more movement, transitioning, and commands. And we have 60 kindergartners in the gym. Oh my gosh, it was hysterical, challenging, but it's a workout.
I thought last year we had a lot. We had classes. Our kindergarten classes were right around 28, and I thought, I'm in the gym by myself, so I know that does make a difference. But actually, I know this is a little bit off topic, but I really like to be by myself, and I wonder if teaching with another teacher, if you notice that this, especially with those kindergartners, their attention is divided. So I don't like it when an aide or something comes in with those little kindergartners, because I feel like a huge thing they need to learn is who to attend to. Now I say, oh, what queen talking? Look right here. Everyone's eyes are on me, and I kind of kid them about it. But really, what I want them to learn is that they're not getting direction from each other when they're in kindergarten. But a big skill seems to be to I'm the one, not to be like egotistical or anything, but I feel like that's what they need to learn. So I'm curious, when you co-teach, how does that work with kindergarten?
To be honest, we had a little. My coworker and I had a little bit of a disagreement because we have we team teach a lot and we have to a lot, but we've always had lunch together, which didn't make sense because if we had lunch separate, then somebody that's 10 periods a week, that somebody could be in the gym by themselves with a class. So my phys ed director and my principal agreed, and we set it up so that now at least those classes we get to have a single class in the gym because it makes a huge difference.
Right.
You know, I get so much more done when I'm by myself. And as far as the attention, you're right, because if we chime in on each other, the kids are, back and forth all the time. And sometimes it's great if you bounce off one another and you learn from one another. Let me tell you, I've learned a lot from co-teaching because you can get stuck in your own way and then somebody else, is there, comes up with a brilliant idea. So there definitely is great for both. There's good in both ways. And if there's a real discipline problem where you need to take a child out into the hallway to speak to them in private, then you can't do that when you're by yourself. So there's bonuses with both, but I do think that having, especially in our size gym, a single class in there is huge. In kindergarten, I mean, they're so distractible.
60 kindergartners.
And 10 of them are from a self-contained classroom. We have 2 kindergarten classes and the self-contained that has 10.
You deserve an award.
Well, I'll let you know how it goes. Because they don't even know their colors. We put them on spots, and we did the slide whistle with red stand up, red sit down, and they didn't know their colors. So we spent so much time on just knowing what category they're in.
Yeah, I learned a similar thing with kindergartners because after watching, I can't remember his name, Matt. His Twitter handle I think is One Old Kid, and he talks on how I teach. He talked about how he doesn't let kids just line up, but they always line up on a number, or they always line up in their alphabetical order, and that made so much sense to me because the end of class would be this frenzy where I'd have conflict with children that don't normally have conflict in PE, but about where their line order was, and they'd want to line up by this kid all the time, or they'd want to be at the front of the line, or and they wouldn't they wouldn't want to have that last few minutes kind of clarifying conversation or get a drink. So anyway, switched it so they all line up on a number. Kindergartners don't know their numbers very well. so that was a silly thing last week. They'd be lined up on 7. It's like, oh, look at Annalise, your number isn't 7. Here, come with me. I'll show you what it looks like.
It took until I think like November for kindergartners to get it, to get the whole system. We used to do just the lineup, the craze lineup, and it always drove me nuts. Now that I have them on spots and they have a color and a group, I'll say red lineup, so that at least there's a delay.
Right.
Who's getting in line? All right, I have one other thing I want to talk about, and it's the rubric that I introduced with my older kids. I guess second, third, and fourth, I talked to them about it. And let's bring that up. And I got this from, where is it? Oh, wait. It was just there, and now it's gone. Is this it? No. Oh, there it is. On Twitter, I think Sarah GH and Kevin Tiller were talking about a cupcake rubric. And then Kevin had a pizza rubric, and I developed this rubric from the conversation with them. So we started off talking about level 1, and you can see the picture shows pizza dough and cheese and sauce. And I like the idea of there's the ingredients, because every kid has the ingredients. They just haven't put them together yet. So that's my level 1, and the kids kind of understood that. Then level 2, is a pizza with just the dough with sauce. Not quite a pizza yet. It's missing something. Then a whole pizza has all the basic ingredients. And then level 4 is, you got toppings on it, which makes it a great, something just a little bit more than the basic. So we talked about that. And then this last column, the empty column, when we start a new skill, we'll go over the cues to put in level 1 and then talk about what each level will look like throughout the year. So I posted this, I laminated it, it's really big. It's about 6 foot by 4 foot. And I laminated it and put it on the wall, and now it's there for parents to see and us to work on whenever we need to with a dry erase marker.
It's really cute. That's a great idea.
So that was my week, and it was an excellent week.
Yeah, I had a pretty crazy week. On top of teaching, we did back to school night, which was really fun. Our art and music teacher and I, we just took snapshots all week and then dropped them in a slideshow. We don't get to, I don't know how it is for everybody else, but we don't get to be in our own area on back to school night. We're kind of in a general area with a table, so we had a slideshow going of the kids. And then I had this crazy great experience through Twitter. Just makes me so glad I'm part of that community. I had put out, well, let me back up a second. You know how we're using QR codes to drive kids to different websites? So thinking about differentiation for some of my Spanish-speaking kids, I was just thinking about how cool it would be if they're not getting something to have a QR code that they could scan. They could follow the directions in Spanish, or they could get the learning cues or the critical cues in Spanish. And I kind of put that out on Twitter, just saying, wouldn't it be cool if we had a library for this? And within maybe 12 hours, had some people super excited. Mike Graham from I think it's PE for Every Kid. He really jumped on it, and so did some others. And so we had a quick Google Hangout, talked about what it would look like, and are looking at putting together a library that would be accessible to everybody, so that when you need a QR code, no, when you need a video kind of explaining a skill, I feel like everyone's creating the same things, and so we could share that. So that was just super cool, trying to figure out like the logistics of it and how to make it work on top of a great week of teaching and everything else going on.
That sounds like a phenomenal idea. Yeah, I would love to see how that's going, and let us know what website you put it up on. I told you that I also have a middle school class, and I know that would be great for a couple. I have a couple of middle school students that don't speak the language, speak Spanish, so that would be perfect.
Yeah, we haven't quite figured out the language thing, but just the idea of having a video library. Anyway, I'm excited just about the potential of it. So
I'm sorry to interrupt. On my website, I've started a video page, and it's a page for students and a page for parents. So if anybody, right now it's very small video, but I try to go through YouTube and narrow down things that are really specific to our age level, so that parents and kids don't have to search too. So I've kind of started that already with my kids.
I know that Kevin Tiller on YouTube also has a great collection of videos that kids can do. I don't know if you've checked out Kevin Tiller on YouTube, but he has quite a few. I've
talked to him a lot on Twitter, but I don't think I've looked at his YouTube site. You know who else? And he's not really on Twitter as much as he is on LinkedIn. There's a guy named Guy Van Damme, and he's from, I want to say, Denmark, or no, I think it's Belgium. And he has a whole, it's like YouTube just for sports and athletics. I'll try but Google the name, Guy Van Damme.
Okay.
You'll find it. I forget the name of his site. Sorry.
That's okay. I'm sure it'll come up if I look.
Yeah.
And then I have one other thing. I do have one other thing going on, and that is, I think I told you I'm putting a workshop together for technology in PE, and started thinking, people who read blogs and are on Twitter and watching YouTube, they probably are the experts on how technology is best used in PE. So I put out a couple, please respond to make comments how people are using, how they're best using technology in PE on my blog. So anybody that might be watching this, I'd be really interested in your comments, how you're best using technology. And that blog address is lovepe.me.
Check out John Jones PE.
Okay.
I think that's what he goes by on Twitter. And he has a website and he does a presentation on technology using iPhones, and he's got some good stuff too.
Okay.
This is great. I tell you, I've learned more in this last year about how to teach phys ed than I've learned in the first 24 years, 25 years.
I would agree. Just having, just getting out of isolation. I think part of it is knowing, part of it is seeing where the bar is at. It's like, oh, the bar is up here. I got to change everything. And I feel like that's constantly happening, especially when I go on people's websites and watch their videos. And it's really easy, especially in a district as small as mine, to kind of think that the bar is just here and that I'm doing really great and I'm super current. And then but to get out of isolation and meet other people through Twitter or through Google Hangouts and through conferences, and I feel like our conferences are so infrequent that's another great thing about Twitter, is that you can be in contact, well, like you and I. And I feel like it's raised my teaching level just exponentially.
Yep. So I can't thank you enough. All right, so another successful episode?
Yes, and looking forward to meeting again soon.
All right. Talk to you soon.
All right, bye.
Bye.